Hi! You have been nominated National Contact Point for Horizon 2020 Societal Challenge 6. Congrats and welcome to the community. What does it mean to be an NCP? That means that you are supporting your research community in finding European funding. You are the resource center. You are the translator for Horizon 2020, their lighthouse, their living tutorial. But there is something even better than a regular NCP, an SC6 NCP. Why? Because as an SC6 NCP, you not only guide your SSH community through the stormy waters of Societal Challenge 6, of course, you also show them all the other opportunities for social sciences and humanities in Horizon 2020. You are not only an SC6 NCP, you are an SSH NCP, a sort of super NCP. That means you need to know all Horizon 2020 course really well. Net4Society is here to help you during your first steps. Net4Society is a network of European SSH NCPs you can count on to find answers to all your questions. The network also analyzes and promotes the integration of social sciences and humanities in Horizon 2020. So, concretely, what does it mean to be NCP for Societal Challenge 6? Well, it's not rocket science. You will answer a lot of questions on the phone, by email, or in individual encounters. You will organize information events and workshops. You will proofread proposals, and you will assist consortia in finding partners from the SSH community. And you will be in permanent contact with other NCPs from other societal challenges and H2020 pillars to help them decipher the social science and human science components of the core. Because SSH are everywhere. Sounds like a lot of work, but we at Net4Society have all been through this. Here is what we recommend to quickly get started as an NCP. First things first. You really need to read the SC6 work program, at least the actual work program. He's your best friend, take care of him, and take it with you everywhere you go. You should also be very well informed of all the legal and technical stuff. Arrange an appointment with your legal and financial NCP just to be sure. Planning a training isn't a bad idea too. And of course, check the Net4Society website. There is plenty of useful documents, especially the SSH integration document. Be sure to read the Net4Society fact sheet to understand the specificity of SSH. And finally, make sure you are on all mailing lists to receive relevant information. Learn by doing. Set up your first info day. Learn by imitating. Ask the other NCP to set up a good info day. Check out the SSH topic for all the other societal challenges and build your community, including those thematic. Do training with your ministry, NCP Academy or Net4Society, and check out Net4Society Partner Search. After that, you should be a great NCP.
Hi everyone, welcome to the first webinar of Net4Society's MOOC training series for Societal Challenge 6 NCPs. These webinars are meant to help you in your daily work, and for that reason we decided to start with the fundamentals of the job. This is especially relevant for those colleagues who are just getting started, but it can be useful to refresh the memory of those of us who have been around for longer. You have all seen the video prepared by our colleague Julian, who have summed up quite nicely what being an NCP is all about. I will build on his suggestions and discuss a bit more in detail what comes with the position. We will cover three main points during this webinar. First, what is the role of the NCP and the specific role of Societal Challenge 6 NCP? Second, what you need to do to do the job. And finally, what you are going to do specifically during the job. Concerning the role of the NCP and the specific role of Societal Challenge 6, first we have to question what is exactly an NCP. Now, national contact points provide information. They provide specific advice and individual assistance to potential participants in EU funding in all member states and associated countries of the European Union. We are nominated by national or regional authorities, and we are officially recognized by the European Commission to provide highly professional support services on EU funding for research and innovation. NCPs act as a bridge between the European Commission and companies, academia, research centers, public bodies, and citizen associations. Our services are free of charge. Now, the NCP system can vary from one country to another, from highly centralized to decentralized networks, and a number of very different actors, from ministries to universities, research centers, and special agencies to private consulting companies. There are nonetheless common standards that must be secured. You can find them in a specific document published by the Commission, where these common standards and principles are explained in more detail. The three core functions of NCPs are identified and described as informing and awareness raising, second, assisting, advising and training, and third, signposting and cooperation. In addition to this, here we would like to highlight four expressions which appear in the document and are central to our work. The first one is confidentiality. There's no need to explain this one. Our clients come to us with an idea for a project and we are bound to confidentiality. This might be hard to manage, especially if you have potential participants asking if you know someone who's applying for a specific topic so that they can join their consortium, and in the end all you want to do is help. But remember, if you are advising two groups submitting a proposal to the same topic, the confidentiality principle is crucial. The equal access. Well, this is closely connected with equal treatment of potential applicants. It is not our role to decide who should or shouldn't apply, and we cannot in any way favor an applicant to the detriment of others. Remember this: if someone asks you to sign a support letter or be a part of an advisory group during the proposal preparation, as NCP, you cannot support one proposal and not equally support others. The conflict of interest. Well, this is closely related with the previous point, but it can also be related with a possible scenario of you taking part in a proposal for Horizon 2020. This is further explained in the document. And then the no wrong door principle, which basically means that even though we are nominated as Societal Challenge 6 NCPs, we must be aware of Horizon 2020 rules and programs so that we can correctly advise a potential participant, even if we come to realize that Societal Challenge 6 is not the right place for them. In what concerns this no wrong door principle, there's an additional layer to us, Societal Challenge 6 NCPs. Considering the integration of SSH in every part of Horizon 2020, we need to be very active in identifying funding opportunities for SSH researchers in other parts of Horizon. You can explore these opportunities online since the Commission flags these topics with an SSH dimension. But we will explore the specific point about funding opportunities in more detail in another webinar of our series. So keep in mind that in your country, you are expected to help companies, universities, research centers, and other stakeholders to access EU funding for research and innovation. But you also need to be internationally connected. NCPs can be a part of a European network to share good practices. For us, that is Net for Society. Net for Society has a website that I will just show you a bit so that you can be aware of the resources that we can in fact use and are available to us as NCPs in Net for Society websites. Other than the useful material, of course, and the funding opportunities which gather the information which is relevant for our daily work, we also have information about news and events relevant for our community. And this is very handful if you are preparing, for instance, your national newsletter. You can pick information available in Net for Society and then disseminate it widely in your country. The same goes for the useful material. And of course, there is also the internal website just for Societal Challenge 6 NCPs. And for this, we will have particular access to this as Societal Challenge 6 NCPs. Now, the network actively supports the SSH community and offers help in every respect of Horizon 2020 consultation. It includes European and international contact points of almost 50 countries. And we, of course, actively support networking in the research community and offer help in every respect of Horizon 2020 consultation. Now, we have been working closely on the successful integration of social sciences and humanities throughout Horizon 2020. To conclude, you have three main missions. You could rely on Net for Society network, and you have to support your community and other Net NCPs in your country to improve their participation in the framework program. What do you need to know to do the job? Well, first of all, you need to know Horizon 2020. First, you have to read everything you can regarding Horizon 2020. Many researchers have worked on the issue of research funding, especially in SSH. So try to find publications on research funding and Horizon 2020 by researchers in your community. It will give you a first idea of this program and its concrete consequences for your researchers. Know your community, academic, institutional, political. How do they work? Is your community comfortable with funded projects? Where are their strengths? Do you have any alliance for the SSH you can rely on? Also, you need to know the everyday work of a researcher. In order to help your community, you have to understand what the challenges they face. So talk with them. Understand if there's any support in your universities or institutions. Ask them if the community is willing to apply to Horizon 2020 calls. It's impossible to plan anything without knowing your community well. From then on, you can try to help them get the money they need for their projects. You also need to know how to use the funding and tenders portal. Navigate and lose yourself like everyone else on the tenders and funding portal. And here we will explore a bit with you to highlight some aspects that you really need to pay attention to. In the funding and tender opportunities portal, not only you find all the funding opportunities available, as well as those that have already closed, but you will also find the relevant information that you will probably need to read and to share with your colleagues and with your community. So I would highlight how to participate and also the search, funding and tenders. Now, in the how to participate, you will find the reference documents. The portal is a bit different right now because we have access to all European funding programs. So we need to make sure that we filter the information and the documents with Horizon 2020. And here we have the legislation, and here we have all the work programs. So including here our own work program, okay? Now, if we continue to explore the reference documents here, we will also find below templates and forms, and this is very useful when we are advising the community and we want to send them relevant information and documents. I always send them the proposals template so that they can be aware of what expected from them in terms of proposal. In addition to that, I would like to draw your attention to the expert names. This is particularly relevant when you are planning an info day and you need to invite people who have experience in terms of evaluation. So here, the names of those who do evaluation are organized according, for instance, in the societal challenges, they are organized according to the societal challenge they have been evaluators for. Ours is also here, and I'm going to click. As you can see, the last list available is from 2017. So there's a bit of delay, between the last evaluation period and the names being published here on the website. And then we have this, work as an expert. This is also very important to show to your community, because just like us, the community also learns by doing. And the information we gathered is that working as an expert provides very, very precious information about how you should prepare a proposal to Societal Challenge 6 or any part of Horizon 2020. So this is an important part of the portal that you need to be able to show, to present to your community in order to push them, challenge them to register as expert. Now, in addition to this, of course, we have already mentioned that you also need to know quite well the work program. And we also have the need to map the opportunities in other programs of Horizon 2020. There are two crucial documents for this. Of course, the first one is the work program, which you need to know. And the second one, I would suggest for you to go through the opportunities document, which is organized by Net for Society, and which basically sums up the funding opportunities in other parts of Horizon 2020 for the SSH community. Of course, in addition to this, there are also the frequently asked questions. Here you can also explore what kind of questions are put forward by the community and also by NCPs. So you can come here and you can filter them, and you can see what has been asked before, filter by specific actions, and then you can also, of course, search with any keyword, specific keyword that you have. In addition to this, I would like to suggest you to read and explore the Horizon 2020 online manual, or what I call the Horizon 2020 for Dummies version. It is a funny way to present it, a light way, but the fact is that it has a lot of information here, and being about, for instance, if you want to explore the legal rules or how to find a call, how to understand how you need to register an organization, what is the process, how everything goes from the evaluation to grant signature. So you don't need to read everything once you get started, but this is always a good thing, you know, a tab which probably you need to have open in your computer when you start working, because it has a lot of information here that you consult every time you need to reply to a question coming from the community. Now, Net for Society has additional support material that you can use. I've mentioned that this is very useful, for instance, when you are preparing your newsletters to be disseminated nationally, but also as in the preparation work that you need to do in terms of reading or keeping up to date what is being the discussion of the calls for your work program and everything. And Net for Society, not only are our webinars available, but Net for Society has a lot of fact sheets, handbooks and guidelines, also in conference reports that you can explore, and they are very useful, and including here the policy briefs. So you can explore this material to help you understand the context of your action and your contact with the community. And I would like to present you finally, and to end this list of potential resources that you can use, which is the National Contact Points Information Hub, which was made available by the Commission. And it works basically as a repository for a lot of material that has been produced by other network projects. Sorry, I will have to log in to show you. So it has been produced by other projects or is available, has a relevant information. So here we can also have access of events which are the Commission considers to be relevant for our work, okay? So for instance, we have here the trainings from NCP Academy, we have here a webinar from other projects and the brokerage events also. So you can use this. In terms of resources, they also have a lot of documents and some videos that you can use, for instance, when you are building your presentations and you need material or information. So make sure you register and you explore this portal. Now, what is exactly that what are we going to do exactly as NCPs? Well, we will be doing a lot, okay? But remember, part of this work of what you're going to do builds on the task of preparing your work, preparing the information. So you need to talk, read, analyze, and ask around what you don't know about Horizon 2020 and your program. You also need to talk to your colleagues who work with other programs and societal challenges. They can help you, and you can work together with them to bring SSH researchers' contribution to those programs. Now, going back to what we are going to do based on this information, well, first of all, we need to inform, to raise awareness, to assist, advise, and train your community, to guide them and improve the cooperation. You will have a lot to do. We all have a lot to do. We will meet people, talk about their research, how they could fit in the Societal Challenge 6 or not, answer to scientific, technical, financial, juridical questions, organize info days, and the list, sadly, goes on and on, of course. Now, but for you to do this, the first thing you need to do, and we have already mentioned this, that you need to get to know your program. So make sure that you take your time to analyze the work program. Interpreting some of the calls might be tricky. So take part in the info day organized by the European Commission and be prepared. List your questions so that you can make the questions in the right time. Don't be afraid to contact people at Unit B6 in order to have their analysis on the topics and calls. Try to analyze the work program with the researchers. If you do not attend the committee meetings, make sure you get in touch with your delegate and experts so that you are always informed of the discussions taking place there. This is very important because it's during these discussions in the program committee that the key aspects are decided. So to understand what happens in this meeting provides context to the topics published, and this might help you to read the topics in a different way. You also need to build a community and a network at the national level. Because if you are supporting researchers or support staff or institutions and partners, they will have to help them, in the sense that you will have to mobilize your community to reply to Horizon 2020. You will also need to try and meet your main partners, okay? They will be the gateway to the network you will need to be. We are talking about researchers, but also support offices that can act as multipliers at the national level. Be close to the other NCPs to help them to better understand how SSH is embedded in all Horizon and how you can help them to involve the SSH community. Now, we can send them the material Net4Society produces on SSH integration. Sometimes they also find it difficult to gather information about this. So Net4Society material is relevant not only for us, Societal Challenge 6 NCPs, but also for our colleagues. Now, you also need to get information. In addition to the websites that I've showed to you and where you can find this information about events and trainings and everything. It's useful if you are included in relevant mailing lists and take part in events organized by your community. Of course, you will be expected to organize and moderate information events. I would say around 100 people tend to attend, depending on the size of your community and country, and organizing and managing workshops and trainings. These will be smaller events, but nonetheless, they are very demanding in the sense that they take time from your work as NCP, and you have to do a kind of, manage, do contacts, do invitations, manage the agenda and everything. Now, in addition to this, on a daily basis, you will be asked to reply to individual questions on any topics. So this might cover Societal Challenge 6, but also legal and financial aspects. This means you have to know Horizon 2020 very well. But in case you don't know this yet, tell your client that you will seek the right answer to give them, and then we'll come back. There's no problem with this. It's better to pause, look for the information, and then go back to your client and providing them the right information than to just keeping the silence and not providing the right information. There's no problem with this. We are all learning, and we are always learning. We will have to advise on reading proposals and what issues or good things we need to, the clients will need to look out for. This is crucial. You need to pay attention to what your colleagues say about this, because probably they have already seen proposals, they have met with evaluators, so they will have a lot of tips to give you. So talk to them. One of the main questions or requests that we have as NCPs will be, we will receive emails from the community asking for assistance for finding partners for different consortium. Of course, we do not know of all the proposals being prepared for a topic or a call. So it is impossible to specifically point one person or another. You can give them general advice on how to look for partners. Of course, other than the traditional way of reaching out to the network they have and their contacts, we also can show them the Net for Society tool for partner search, and we can also point them to the commission tool, which is basically, you can do this partner search when you are exploring the funding and tenders portal, and you look out, scroll down in the page topic, and below you will find the number of partners that are looking for consortia for that specific topic. So, of course, you can also use the network of your clients. Again, please remember the principles of confidentiality and how they apply here. You cannot reach out, if a person comes to you and asks you, oh, I want to join a consortium. And in case you are aware of a group already gathered preparing a proposal, you will not tell that person directly, oh, you should contact this coordinator. But you can go back to that coordinator and say, look, we have an institution looking for a consortium. Would it be okay for me to give you to give him or her your contact? And then afterwards, if you get that permission, you can make this link. Now, a crucial aspect of our work is to be in permanent contact with other NCPs. We need to exchange, analyze, and participate in their info days. So again, this means that we need to talk with our colleagues. Probably they're just next door, and they are a very, very reliable source of information. Okay, so be the link between your program committee and your community. Reach out to your delegates, understand what's the national strategy, provide information, needs, strengths, grievances, whatever is relevant for your national representatives to better represent our community is relevant for you to make sure to pass that information to the right people. So we have covered the 3 topics of the webinar, and I would like to conclude that this is just, of course, an overview of what we do. It is a lot of information. And in the upcoming webinars, we will address some of these aspects in more details. So keep posted on this and you will get more information. Now, I would like to finish with this. The idea of learning by doing is crucial in our work. And also the idea that you can rely on your colleagues and you can rely on us, your colleagues at Societal Challenge 6 and at For Society, to help you. I'm going to tell you a story, for instance, about my own personal experience. I've been around for 4 years, and I clearly remember that when I started working, I was supposed to travel to my first Net for Society meeting and do a presentation about our work as work package leaders. So in 2 days, I had a brief about Horizon 2020, about what I had to do as NCP, and also about my role in Net for Society. And I clearly remember in the afternoon of the first day thinking about, going back home, catching the next train back home and not coming back. And then, after this moment of panic, I decided to come back the other day because, it's just the first day. It was a bit of shocking news in terms of, what is exactly your responsibility. And what did help me was, in fact, my colleagues, because not only were they willing to share with me their knowledge and experience, they were willing to guide me through the process. And that led me to think, well, if they survive this, maybe I can too. And then I traveled and met my colleagues at Net for Society. And I realized that the same anxiety that I was experiencing was also common to other colleagues over there. And I found in Net for Society an additional support to carry on. And here I am, 4 years later, doing a webinar in a TV studio, which doesn't come with the job description, but is a nice experience anyway. So thank you so much for listening to us. And now I would want to ask you, if you have any questions, to please log on to the chat and ask them, and I will try to answer you. So someone asks us if we have to read all the proposals of the community and analyze them. Well, of course, there's no way that we know about all the proposals being prepared nationally. So usually we end up by reading and screening the proposals if people reach out to you. So the first thing that you need to do, if you really want to do this, is during your national events to spread the word that this is part of your role as NCP. Tell your community that you can help them in writing the proposal, in the sense of advising them on tips of the do's and don'ts, and then you can in fact screen the proposal. We know there are some countries where NCPs don't do this very often. This, as I told you, the exact work on a daily basis clearly varies from one country to another. So make sure that people know that you can do this kind of proofreading. And then, of course, you will have to wait until they contact you. One of the things that you can do, trying to be a bit more proactive, is to reach out to the supporting offices in the universities and research centers, that are usually, or at least are potential applicants to Societal Challenge 6. And you can contact them, I would say, a month before the deadline, and ask them directly if there are proposals being submitted by them to Societal Challenge 6, or and if they need support in that task. So that's another alternative, trying to be more proactive in your work. Now we have another question. During a national event, is it okay to invite a legal NCP? Make a sort of little training course with the researchers? Well, I would say yes. It's in fact quite relevant to have a legal NCP during the event. Now, we know that as NCPs for Societal Challenge 6, we have to have general knowledge on the legal and financial issues about Horizon 2020. But sometimes during an event, some tricky questions might come along. And the difference, when someone makes you this tricky question in an email, you can also, take your time to reply and talk to your colleague and then still reply quite nicely. During an event, you have to react immediately. So if you don't have the information, the specific information the person is asking for, well, you need to manage the situation. You can either provide her or him with a contact for your legal and financial colleague, or in an alternative, if you have your legal colleague during the event, they can react immediately because probably they have read the annotated model grant agreement back and forth several times now, and they have the number of article that applies to the situation by memory. Little training course with the researchers, is it good or not? Well, I can only tell you, I think you need to plan your events according to your community. So get to know your community, identify the needs, and then plan the events accordingly. For instance, here at the national level, what we do is that we have a general training, like it's a general introduction, and we have a part just for legal and financial aspects and another part covering the proposal template. But we also have specific trainings covering just the proposal template for SSH, for Challenge 6, for instance. And we have specific trainings for legal and financial aspects, for instance, for reporting or building a budget. So it really depends on your community's needs, what they ask of you, and in fact also the time you have to plan and include these kind of events in your agenda. Because we know that very often, especially in smaller countries, there is one NCP taking care of more than one program. So you need to balance this, to fulfill your role, but also to balance this to the attention that you need to provide to the different communities. So my advice on this would be to find the synergies whenever possible and create events that can be relevant for your Societal Challenge 6 communities, but can also involve and reach out to other targets. Now we have another question. In the sense, it's always difficult to find partners. Instead of the Net for Society research portal, is it possible to ask directly one or every SSH NCP in each country to present the potential partners or consortium we have? Well, this can be done in the sense, I think we have all received emails for the plenary in Net for Society saying that, dear all, there is an institution in our country looking for a consortium, and they have this in this profile. Are you aware of any consortium in your country that is looking for a partner with this profile? Well, you can always do this, of course, but I think that most of times consortia that are already formed, they are the ones having an active role in terms of looking out for a partner. Instead of having a partner, finding the consortium, it's usually the consortium finding the partner. So yes, we can do it. And then but this, it is not 100%, we are not 100% sure that it will lead to a consequence in the sense of that person being included in the consortium. As NCPs, what we can do is disseminate the information. So as a at the national level, you receive this request, you send the email to the plenary email, and you ask your colleagues to disseminate the information. And your colleagues will spread the word in their mailing lists. And we have another question here in the sense are there any strategies instead of National Info Day to convince researchers to apply to Horizon 2020? Well, I would, from my experience and also from the experience shared by other colleagues in the network, I would say 2 points on this. First is that, well, you know, face-to-face contact with the research community is very, very important, because sometimes it's a fundamental moment for you to break some preconceived notions about the participation. You can find these consideration in smaller countries, for instance, like Portugal, where the community still has the idea that, well, you know, Horizon 2020 funding, it's not for us. We are a small country. We are not part of the list of the usual suspects. So part of your work is also to tear this kind of conception apart. How can you do it? It's not easy. So it's always good if you have an example. So if you find a well-succeed member of your targeted community who took part in a proposal and was able to find a consortia and bring funding to develop a project, well, treat them very nicely, very gently, and show them around. Usually when we plan info days, we always have national experts and people who have experience in Horizon 2020. We like to show how it is possible to submit a proposal and win. It's hard, but it's possible. So working in this kind of two fields. First, breaking any preconceived ideas about how the funding works. In the sense, there's no preference beforehand. You need to do the work. You need to submit a good and strong proposal with a strong consortium to have the chance of having the proposal being funded. Otherwise, there are no miracles. It doesn't matter if you're from Portugal or any other country, you need to have a good proposal. And the second thing is, well, you need to find support to, you know, kind of make your point, the first point. So if you have a successful applicant in your country, don't be afraid to invite them to info days, but also to smaller sessions in the institutions. If you don't have a successful applicant, but you have applicants who have submitted and gone through the process, try to make a positive experience out of it. There are always lessons to be learned by taking part in this proposal. And so you can invite these people, even if they didn't get the funding, to be at your events and share with the others what they have learned in the process and how that learning process will feed into the next proposal. And this is also crucial. Also, another thing that you can do is work very closely with the support offices in the institutions. They are closer to the community, they know their interest, and sometimes they are doing their work in the sense of, you know, they are sending funding opportunities and trying to convince them. So sometimes you just need to go there and do that extra push in that sense. It's an extra push to really tell the applicants that it's possible and that you will help them in this process. Sometimes they are too afraid to make themselves exposed to the evaluation process. Sometimes we all know that preparing a proposal for Horizon 2020, especially for Pillar 2 or Pillar 3, it's very demanding. And the thing that you can offer is support throughout the process, so that the researchers know that even though it's going to be a tough, demanding process of creating the proposal, you are still, they will not be alone. So they will have the research support offices, and you as NCP will also act to try to help them. So yes, sometimes you work as a bit of, you do a bit of mentoring, a little bit of, psychology. It doesn't come with a job description, but is also part of the work. Now, we have another question in the sense if there are any training courses provided by Net for Society. And if not, where can we find a training course? Well, it depends on the topic. Net for Society has a lot of trainings being provided to NCPs during our meetings, and they cover a multitude of topics. We have had trainings on open science, and we have had specific trainings like train the trainers for moderation. So we are always working on this double level, on this dual level, which is for one side training on specific topics that are relevant for Horizon 2020 and your daily work, and on another level working on your capacitation as trainer, so that you can at the national level prepare your own trainings with the community. Net for Society has done this in the past. We will keep working on this. The webinars that we had before and are available in our website and on our YouTube channel are also part of this effort. Last year, for instance, we had a webinar about ethics and implications of open science, which I invite you all to watch after this. And other than this, of course, NCP Academy also provides specific training. Now, a part of this, I would call them international opportunities in terms of training. You can also consider at the national level putting forth a suggestion to your superiors or of trainings that are relevant for you and your colleagues. And this might work. So take your time also after some time has passed since you started working as NCP to assess the areas you would like to improve in your work, and if you need specific training to improve your work. And then you can look for the training opportunities in Net for Society. Also, the Commission now is working very closely with Net for Society, and we are having trainings. The last one was in January. So we also have that, and then with the NCP Academy. They also have webinars, they also have trainings. And in addition to this, you should take advantage of any training opportunity provided to you at the national level. In the meantime, while we wait for another question, let me just share with you one of the common issues that will also always come up to you, which is the problems during the submission. And usually there are people who will call you 2 days before the deadline saying that they cannot include a partner, or they're having problems in the submission page. So I would advise you to create a mock proposal so that you can explore the system from the user's perspective. Because one thing is to have access to the template. The other thing is understanding in how the proposal works in reality, in terms, logging into the system, creating a draft, moving back and forth between the different steps, uploading the documents and everything. So it is crucial for you to have this possibility, because otherwise it's very difficult to understand these questions because you don't know how the process runs. So take your time, log in, create a mock proposal, and remember to, of course you cannot submit it, remember to that the LEAR in your institution will be notified that you have created a proposal. So usually what we say is that in the title of the proposal we create the title of mock proposal NCP, so that the LEAR is aware that that's not the real proposal, that it's not going to be submitted. I would also like to tell you about the specific, my specific experience with being an NCP, and I am also the national delegate for Societal Challenge 6. And it really makes a difference to understand the discussions in the committee. It provides me an insight into the topics, into how the sentences are framed, to understand how we got there, that it's unique for the way I advise my clients. So the question that we mentioned before in terms of the need for you to reach out to your national delegates and experts, it's for real. If you reach out to them, you will have access to privileged information, and it's crucial for you to develop your work on a daily basis. So make sure you know their names, get their emails, and introduce yourself to them. Let me also explore a bit the challenges of working with colleagues at the office. Sometimes SSH profiles in terms of, the background of the NCPs working with you, sometimes we feel a bit alone, in the sense that people all come from different backgrounds, but some areas are better represented in the NCP field than others. And it might be challenging for us representing the SSH community to reach out to other colleagues and present them with our program, why the contribution of our community is relevant, and in fact why we need to work together, creating relevant events and sessions that really can promote this collaboration between different communities. My advice to you is not to give up. It takes time, it takes possibly some charm and good arguments to convince them that it's our perspective and the perspective of the community that we are representing is useful, is relevant, and in that sense, knowing the SSH flag topics in the different programs might help you, because if they are relevant for a proposal, then your colleague will be more inclined to find what you have to say also more relevant. So be active on this, and don't let the first setbacks in terms of conversation with your colleagues, don't let them make you give up on this purpose. You need to insist. It is part of the work. It's not something that you're going to achieve in the first, second week, or I would say even in the first 6 months of the job. It takes time. It takes time for you to know your community and then to feed that information to the work of your colleagues. So let me continuing by telling you that the next webinar on this series will be held in more or less a month, in May, and we will cover the topic how to find the right opportunity for your community and for your clients. So we will explore a bit more in detail Horizon 2020, the different pillars, what it means, where we can find the information, how we can work with our colleagues. But we will also cover other programs that we do not need to know in detail, but that are also relevant to our community. And sometimes it can offer them an opportunity in terms of funding. On a more personal tone, I would suggest for you to take it easy. It is a bit overwhelming to come to this position and all of a sudden find out not only all the tasks that you will have to do, but that somehow you are also representing and defending a whole community, which is very diverse, by the way. SSH is not, it's a unique group in the sense that sometimes they are brought together under the same label, but we have a very diverse group of people working under this common label. So take your time. You will learn by doing. You will make mistakes, you will have doubts, and you will learn from the process. Right now, you don't know everything about proposal writing, what works, what doesn't work. And please notice, you will, even if you work for 10 years in this field, you will not find the final recipe for success in a proposal in Horizon 2020. There's only so much you can do. You can advise your clients, but the scientific part is up to them. That's not your job. So take your time, take a deep breath. We have all been there before, and we have survived. If you need help, reach out. Thank you so much. Have a nice Easter break, and don't forget to join us in May for our next webinar. Bye.